All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Positive Choices, Healthy Kids. Again, I'm Officer Wes.
And I'm Officer Brian.
So today, guys, we're going to be jumping into another lesson with you. And remember that each lesson kind of builds upon the last one. So you may hear us kind of like reference back to some things that we've talked about before, because this stuff all really goes hand in hand with one another. See, today what we're going to be talking about is something that is very, very hard to see. In fact, it's something that we can't actually physically see, but it's all around us, and something that we feel, and something that we feel inside of us and sometimes controls us or makes us do things that we may not want to do.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
Now, without getting all Jedi on me, we're not talking about the Force, but we are talking about pressure. Pressure, guys, is something that can really kind of, we feel and we have physical reactions to, we feel it inside of us, and a lot of times it can make us do something that ordinarily we may not want to do. What do you think, Officer Brian?
Was that like peer pressure, you mean, or?
I agree. So peer pressure, guys, is a very, very specific type of pressure that we feel. And peer pressure is something that, you know, is a little bit of a mixed bag. It could be something that could be good for us, but also could be very negative. What does peer mean to you?
Well, a peer to me is someone you work along with. So like you're a peer to me, you're a fellow police officer with me. The other police officers that I work with are fellow peers. However, you know, my hierarchy or teachers in your case, or parents, they are not your peers. They're not people you work directly along with. So a peer to the students here watching would be other kids in your class, other kids in your school, your teachers, doctors, parents at home. They are not your peers. So when they give advice on something, this is not what we're referring to as peer pressure or to make a decision. What we mean by peer pressure is a fellow classmate is putting pressure on you to do a certain thing, whether it could be good or bad, and we're going to explain the good and bad peer pressures along here. Would you like to explain the negative ones or the positive ones first?
Well, before we do that, I agree with Officer Brian. I think it's really important to remember that a peer is really just anybody that's pretty close in age to you. So you guys as fifth graders right now, going on to become sixth graders, most of the people in that elementary school that you're coming from were your peers. And now as you're entering the next phase and entering middle school, well, now you're going to be having some kids that are a little bit older than you that are still going to be considered your peers. So when we're talking peer, we're meaning people that are, about the same age as you, people close in age to you. But that's another funny thing too, is just we hear us saying pressure and how it can make us do things we don't want to do. But I think peer pressure can be a positive thing at times.
Well, how's that? Because I mean, every time I hear peer pressure, it's pretty negative, and maybe you shouldn't do it.
Okay. Well, you know what, Officer Brian, there was a time in my life where I was peer pressured, and positively peer pressured at that. You see, guys, when Officer West was younger, I was very heavy set. I was very overweight as a kid growing up. And unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to play some sports that I wanted to. I was never able to play football because, honestly, I was never able to make the weight restrictions to play. Well, fast forward to 8th grade, Officer West. We're getting ready for high school. We're getting ready for that next transition, the next level. And football season's coming up. And in high school, there are no restrictions. Anybody that wants to try out can make the team and play and enjoy it. So 8th grade, I'm nervous. I'm thinking about it, but I've never done it before. I'm scared. I'm not really sure if this is something I want to do. So I have a friend, and my friend's name is Bob. Now Bob, he's a little goofy. He's a little goofy. He had this way of talking, and he still talks like this. He goes, "Hey, guy, what's up, bro?" Like, that's how he talked. No matter what he was saying, that's how he talked. Bob would come to my locker every single day. "Hey, big guy, coming out for football next year?" Like, I'm telling you, every day he came to my locker and said that to me. And over time, I was like, Bob, I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. "Oh, come on, man. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun." So Bob did this every single day. And finally, one day, I just decided, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm going to play. Okay. And I think part of me just wanted to say that just to get Bob to stop coming to my locker and bothering me every day. But I ended up doing it, man. I tried out. I loved it. I ended up falling in love with the game. You were a football guy too, right?
I was, yeah. Actually, now that you said that story, I remember Little League, actually. I didn't want to play on a certain team for the summer. And a bunch of my friends, they needed a few more guys to make the team a full roster. And I ended up telling my dad at the end of the year, like, I had the best summer of my life as a kid, just playing an extra sport, and I never thought I'd do it. And I got pressured into doing it. But looking at it now, it was a very positive impact in my life.
So these are really great examples of how peer pressure can be a positive thing. So when we're talking peer pressure, we're pretty much talking anybody about our age trying to influence or get us to do something, and we're lucky that we were both able to share an example of how we were positively peer pressured. But we have to be aware of it. We need to be aware when somebody's trying to get that influence on us, when we need to be aware of when somebody's trying to get us to do something that ordinarily we wouldn't want to do. And it doesn't always have to be sports. It could be something as simple as, you know, trying a new club or activity, or maybe trying a new food, or going on a roller coaster at an amusement park that you've never been on before. These are all examples of something that could end up being positive, but it's really important for you guys to be able to slow down and think about what your consequences might be if you choose to do something. Similar like we were talking about
yesterday with
See
the
that?
risks and consequences.
It's like we know what we're doing, folks. All this stuff kind of comes together and it all works hand in hand with each other. So that's a little bit about peer pressure and how it's something that could end up being positive, but also we also have to be very careful of because it can be negative at times.
Yep.
So we talked about how peer pressure can be negative, and we need to remember that we need to be able to stand strong and resist it. When we feel that negative peer pressure, that negative influence being exerted on us, we need to make sure that we can stand strong. We have to be resistant. We have to refuse to allow other people to influence our decision making. Imagine, you guys, imagine a giant steel bridge. All day long, that bridge stands strong. Cars drive over it, trucks drive over it. It resists all that force and stays straight, so it's nice and safe and doesn't allow people to change it. I need you guys to imagine yourselves as that strong steel bridge and never giving way to that pressure and to that force. But you're going to need some tools. It's a little different when you're dealing with people face to face, and especially people that might be just a little bit older than you. So to do that, you're going to need a little bit of tools. Like me and Officer Brian, we wear our utility belts, our bat belts as I like to call them, and they're full of all kinds of tools that we have to use available to us. But you guys need some tools in your bat belts at home that you can use should you find yourself in a situation where you're being negatively peer pressured. And to do that, we're going to share some examples. So first and foremost, we're going to have some of your fellow classmates or some of your future peers on camera sharing some resistance strategies that you guys can use to refuse and stand up to negative peer pressure.
Say no with a reason or an excuse.
Drop the knowledge bomb.
Strengthen numbers.
Say no and walk away.
Avoid the situation.
Change the subject.
So guys, those strategies work. They absolutely work. And the best part is they interchange completely with one another. You can use any one at any time, or use multiple if you feel like you need to use two at a time to stand up to that negative peer pressure. Officer Brian, which ones do you like, or which strategies do you think are most effective?
Well, my favorite strategy of the whole thing is, you know, to use your voice. Make an excuse. Say no. Just simply say no. Make an excuse. Maybe something like, hey, if my parents ever smelled smoke on me, oh, I'd be grounded for months. Or, oh, I have a doctor's appointment soon. I couldn't do that. Or a big game the next day. Any excuse. Even, you know, I'm not telling you to, it's okay to lie, but in this situation, it's kind of just a quick little excuse to excuse yourself from the situation that's making you feel very uncomfortable, and all that pressure that's building up on you, just to excuse you quickly from the situation, and you can move on. Another one I really like doing is just avoiding the situation from the get-go. So you have a dance or a party that, you know, you hear friends talking, oh, well, I'm going to bring cigarettes or some form of alcohol. Well, maybe I don't want to go, or maybe I want to say something to someone, and I could avoid that confrontation later on, and I just won't even go at all. How about the other two? What are your two favorites?
Well, I agree. You know, you brought up a really good point in that you don't have to deal with that negative peer pressure if you're never exposed to it from the get-go. If you never have to face it, it's a whole lot easier than dealing with it, you know, in real time. As for me, two that I'm really partial to, like two that I really like, is first and foremost, I like strength in numbers. You know, surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with friends that you know aren't going to want to do this kind of stuff. Like, I'm fortunate that, you know, Officer Brian and I, we don't have to worry about this stuff. So when we hang out, we just get to do things that we like, because we're not going to try and negatively peer pressure each other to do something we don't want to do. Another one that is really, really easy is just say no and walk away. Just literally say no, turn and walk away. You don't even have to be polite. You don't have to be cordial. You just got to say no, turn, beat feet, get out of there. And now you don't have to deal with that negative peer pressure anymore. So I think we can agree that peer pressure is a pretty powerful force, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to really make you guys remember that the most important tool, I know Officer West talked about before, we carry all these cool tools on us. I even tell police officers I work with, the number one tool you have is your voice, okay? Your voice does matter, all right? And you can use it to help you and someone else maybe get out of a situation that makes you feel very uncomfortable. So when you're looking for something, just remember, your voice does matter, and it could get you out of any situation.
I agree. Even a faulty microphone.
Only
pack.
a faulty microphone.
Even a faulty
Should have clipped
microphone.
that on. Always clip it on.
But I think what we're trying to make the point here, folks, is that you have to be able to recognize this, and you have to come up with a plan. And that's why we're doing this today. That's why we're trying to help you guys out and give you some skills. Because like we keep saying, you might be faced with a situation similar to this or what we've been talking about that you've never faced before. And it always helps to have a plan or have something in the back of your mind ready to go so you don't have to think about it on the spot. And one other thing about peer pressure is that, similar to my story that I mentioned with Bob, the more times you are exposed to peer pressure, the more likely you are to possibly give in to that influence. Now, that could mean it could be over the course of a year, like in my story, or it could be you find yourself at a gathering and somebody just keeps coming up to you and asking you over and over and over again. It might be easy to say no for the first time, but then it gets harder after that. And I would hate to hear a story or talk to any of you guys and find that you gave in to that negative peer pressure and did something you didn't want to do, or you know you shouldn't do, just because you ran out of things to say. So you got to remove yourself. See, I gave in to peer pressure, but I gave in to peer pressure in a positive situation. If it's a negative situation, such as with drugs or alcohol, we want to make sure we remove ourselves. Get out of there. Get out of there as fast as you possibly can so that you no longer are being exposed to that peer pressure and risk giving into it. So one thing I will say is just, you know, when you're coming up with a reason or an excuse, let's make it somewhat believable. You know, like, oh, hey, I can't have a beer tonight because I'll get abducted by aliens. You know, like, it doesn't really, it may not work, okay? Let's try and keep it somewhat believable. So guys, that's a little bit about peer pressure. Again, something that's all around us that we face throughout our daily lives, and it can be something that's positive, but it also could end up having some negative consequences. So do we have anything left for everybody at home?
Use verbal judo as much as you can.
Verbal judo. Use that word talk. Okay. So, folks, we have one last thing for you. We do have some conversation kickoffs. So we're going to have one of your future classmates joining us and sharing with you our conversation kickoffs so that you guys can kind of keep the dialogue going and keep the conversation rolling at home. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time, and stay safe, everybody.
When did you feel pressure from others or from yourself to do something negative or positive?
How do you get yourself out of an uncomfortable or dangerous situation?
What can you say or do?
How can grown-ups help kids face peer pressure?